Now, many people think that it would be desirable if the whole human race could unite as one, and other people think that that's impractical, and it's better to have different groups, that somehow there's more growth and development when there is competition. Do you think there's one right way that it should be done, or it'll just take its course regardless?
Well, I think that's going to be the big challenge. Certainly exploring different alternatives, having tolerance for different perspectives and different approaches, that's a wonderful thing. Once it gets to wars and people killing one another, I think as our technologies get more powerful, that's going to become more and more dangerous. And that today's level of, we've got little battles and warfare going on all over the place. When you have much more powerful, say, robotic-based weapons, I think that's not going to be an acceptable thing. So I think we need to come to a society in which we eliminate war while preserving the kinds of differences and the kinds of explorations, competitive explorations, that actually lead to positive outcome. How we choose that is the big question. And who gets to choose that, I think, is the big question.
Well, some people feel that they have something to gain by war. People who have everything they want or need prefer peace because then they get to keep it. But there are lots of people who don't have what they want or need and feel the only way they're going to get it is to take it away from somebody else.
Yeah. And I think another topic that we sort of touched on a little earlier is, as robots begin to take over more and more of the labor, there aren't going to be jobs, or at least the kinds of jobs that there are today. Many people are not going to be able to do that kind of work in a way that is more cost-effective than robots. And so we probably are going to need to shift the way our economic system works so that so there isn't a huge divide between the haves and the have-nots.
Now, many people have said that all this technology is going to raise everybody's standard of living, so we'll have a much higher material standard. Now, is that necessarily good? Is the goal to remove all the adversity from life, or is adversity desirable because it challenges you and makes you become better?
Yeah, that gets to the core issue. What do we want? What is an ideal future? Sometimes you see parents that take care to make sure their child never has a negative experience. And those children typically don't grow up very psychologically healthy. I like to use the Maslow hierarchy as a way to think about what are human needs and values. And he sort of thinks of them as a pyramid. The base of the pyramid is pure survival needs, that you need food and water and air, shelter, health care. Once you have those met, then you can have social needs, where friendship, love, romance, connection, a sort of a peer group. Once you have that met, you can have self-esteem needs, ways of, bringing your thoughts and your experiences and your skills into the world. Once that's met, you can have transcendent needs, more kind of a spiritual sense of meaning, a sense of leaving a legacy. He viewed them as built one on top of the other, in the sense that, if you don't have enough to eat, you probably can't be thinking too much about more transcendent things. More recent studies have shown that the needs he identified were right, that they don't necessarily have to come one after another, though.
Now, this sort of relates to the question of consciousness, and that also relates to the question of machines. Is it possible for a machine to be conscious? Is consciousness just a byproduct of a biochemical reaction, which conceivably could be replicated? Or is consciousness more basic, not dependent on matter, self-existent, in which case it might be pretty hard to put it into a machine?
Yeah. And so those two philosophical positions have been sort of battling for many years. The philosophers have been thinking about it. And I think these machines are going to really give us some new tools to make headway in answering that question. Philosophers sometimes talk about philosophical zombies, which are entities which behave from the outside just like, say, a person might. So they answer questions as if they were a person. They say they have feelings. They say that they're conscious. But secretly, they don't actually have any conscience. They don't feel anything. They're just a mechanical device. And if that can exist, then perhaps these AI machines will have that character. Perhaps consciousness is something that's outside of the computational character. Most neuroscientists today, I think, believe that consciousness is an emergent effect of biochemistry. But I'd say the jury is still very much out, and it's going to be quite an interesting investigation to sort of begin to tease that apart.
Is there anything that a human intelligence can do that a machine cannot do, even in theory? For example, can a machine come up with an original idea? Can a machine use inductive logic as well as deductive logic, derive something new by reaching outside of itself? Yeah,
I mean, one of the sort of tropes is that something is viewed as impossible until a machine is actually successful at doing it, and then people view it as trivial. Playing chess might be an example. It was viewed as, you know, a brilliant creation of the human mind until machines actually beat the world chess champion, and now, oh, it's a simple algorithm that does it. It wasn't that hard after all. And, you know, it's that kind of thinking. There are research groups around the country right now. Basically everything, composing music. There's a guy in Atlanta who's got a robot that will jam with you, a robot musician that has the spontaneous, you know, impromptu jazz riffing that a human musician might. There are robots that draw paintings, creative art. There are robots that try and recognize emotional expression, facial expressions, that generate faces that have emotional expressions. And so gradually, people are focusing on every aspect that we thought was uniquely human, and they're building machines which do some degree of that. How far is it going to go? We don't know. We'll find out.
Now, you mentioned emergent intelligence, which is something different from simply programming it, and it does whatever you program it to do. What exactly do you mean by emergent intelligence in a machine?
Well, sort of early on in the history of artificial intelligence, there were sort of two schools of thought, the neats and the scruffies. The neats viewed that intelligence should be based on mathematical logic, it should be precise, you should encode the world in mathematics, essentially, and build a mathematics machine which can then use theorem proving as a way to sort of make, you know, decisions about the world. The scruffy says, no, that's not how biology works. What you should really do is build little systems that can learn and throw them together in a kind of random way, and maybe use, you know, analogs, computer analogs of evolution to allow these systems to adapt and build themselves. And the field has sort of swung from one pole to the other, where one was popular for a while and the other would become popular. My own belief is that the two need to merge, and I see signs that that's happening right now, that we both have very precise and rich semantics about the world, and these systems are able to learn. So all of the speech recognition systems, no person sat there and encoded how each word sounds. What they did is they built up a huge database of people saying different things, and then they used that to train a simulated neural network, a circuit sort of like a brain, real biological neuron, where it has adjustable parameters, and the system adjusts the parameters to best fit the training data, and it learns something that its creator didn't necessarily know it was going to learn.
The creator might not even know what's going on inside the machine now, but it's some. Do you think there's a risk we're going to put too much trust in these machines? We'll say, we don't really know how it works, we don't understand it totally, but we created it, it must be good, and whatever it tells us to do, we're going to do it.
Yeah, in fact, that's been one of the primary areas of my own focus, because the special kind of machine learning that I've been very interested in are systems which actually understand their own design. Way back in 1962, there was a guy named I.J. Good, a statistician, who had the insight that if we do succeed in building AI systems, one thing that they're going to be very good at is designing other technological devices. In particular, they can design improvements to themselves. And so we should expect that, yeah, we built the first one, but that first one will then build a better successor to it, and that one will build a better successor, and we'll get kind of an intelligence explosion. And in fact, there's a new book out called Our Final Invention that's based on that idea, that says that once these systems get to a certain level of power, then no longer will humans be inventing and designing new systems, that rather these very smart systems will be. Well, that sounds great, except that we maybe understand the first system. Do we understand the one that it builds? Do we understand the one that one builds? It quickly can get to a place where they're behaving in ways that we don't understand. And so the challenge is, can we design technology that will ensure that even though if we don't understand the details, that our goals and our values, our human values, are respected by those future machines that are built?